Okay, so this is the state of the Velociraptor. Hi, Chad. I like your haircut. So just a quick introduction for me. If you don't know me, lucky. I'm Sawyer, and the state of the Velociraptor, if you're not familiar with it, was actually a keynote, and the idea was to give a specific talk, instead of just about the language, to actually talk about the community. The language, it's the community, it's all of us. So there used to be a state of the Velociraptor given by Matt Trout, MST, and he passed it on to me, which was a wise decision for him. And then we realized, you know what, there's actually more than one Velociraptor in that sense. Our community is built out of several smaller communities, and it would be nice for all of them to get representation. So nowadays what we try to do is bring people from those communities to talk about them, to give you kind of like a better view of all of the smaller communities that make up this one big community that we're all part of. So I hope this makes sense. And I'm basically going to present each person, and they will talk to you about what they do in their part of the world. What I'm actually going to start with is something that I'm involved in, which is P5P. It's short for Perl 5 Porters, and that's the group that maintains Perl, the language. And it is a community of its own. It's a bit of an odd community, I have to say, for several reasons. So first, there really isn't any official way to join. There's a channel, there's a mailing list, but there's no official way. Like, there's no first contribution, there's no core people who accept, don't accept. Other projects I worked on, there was like a list of the core members, and after a while of contributions, you would become part of that. But we don't really have that. So it's kind of you know, it's sort of, if you show up, it's you. And that seems to work for us. It can get confusing. I mean, we have a list of core committers. It's the people who actually commit. There's a list of the people who contributed patches, which is roughly the same. There's people who have a commit bit. But there are also people who just hang out on the channel or the mailing list, and they just provide comments and critique. And there are people who are just, you know, they just observe and you know, spectators. And it's kind of confusing sometimes, and sometimes it could also be frustrating because, you know, it could feel like a peanut gallery kind of thing where a lot of people are putting out work, and there are some people that are just commenting on things, and it feels like you know, it's easy to criticize without helping. But I think the best sentiment for us to maintain is just that even people who just comment, they actually care about it. They care a lot about it. They're not doing it because they're bored. You know, they're not sitting at home thinking, what could I do? And I'm just going to go and criticize some other people. No, they actually give, you know, they care a lot about this. And it's, I mean, I know I sometimes forget that if I had offended anyone for their critique and making them feel as if, you know, you don't really care about this, you're just bored, then I want to apologize. Because I think it's something that we forget sometimes. And that does happen for us as well, because it's a big list. And emotions can get heated. I don't know if any of you have ever worked in an open source community. You have an experience that, you know, people are passionate, and sometimes there's friction. You know, yeah, it's a rare thing, right? None of us experience it. It's just me. No, okay. So yeah, the biggest part is our mailing list, P5P, and it includes like all the committers and all the commentators and spectators and everyone and anyone can join. Everyone can comment. It's great, but it does include moderators. And this is the big part that I actually want to mention, because sometimes I'm one of the moderators, and I know sometimes we screw up when we moderate. It's not always smooth. I know that for me it's a challenge, because oftentimes the moderation happens over something that I experience, that someone directs towards me, and then I cannot moderate that. I mean, sometimes we do screw up. It's not always perfect, but we do make an honest job of trying to make it a good environment. You know, because none of us get paid to do it. No one wants to moderate. No one enjoys moderating. No one's thinking, you know what, I really want to get into a discussion now on how someone treated someone else on the list. This is fun. Let's do it over 15 emails. So yeah, and it also doesn't work for everyone, because sometimes when you want to say something, you want to say what you wanted to say, and you want to say it the way you intended to, and you can't always do that. Like, you can't always say what you want to say, you know. Oftentimes, you can't say the way you want it to. You can't say this is stupid. You can't say you're an idiot. That doesn't work. So if that's what you wanted to say, you can't say that. Or if you want to say I disagree with this, you can't say you're stupid. That's not the way you say it. So we oftentimes want to say what we want the way we want, and that doesn't work on a public list. So I want to demonstrate why this doesn't work. And I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you feel comfortable. You don't have to. So my first question is, have you ever worked at a job where the boss made fun of you? And I know that happened to me. Have you ever been belittled, ridiculed? Were you ever offended on a personal or professional level? You know I experienced that. And I want to ask you, did that help? Did you enjoy your job? Did you do a better job? Were you happy in your life? Did that contribute in any kind of way to your performance? Was the code, documentation, everything around it, was it better because someone yelled at you or mocked you? No, it wasn't, right? It didn't really work. It was never advantageous for you or for your work. Never. It never helped. It never did a single thing to improve. And we realized that our best work is in a supportive, helpful environment. And this is what we want to have in P5P as well. This is why we have moderators. This is why we push hard on the way people express themselves. And, you know, like I said, it could conflict with what you want to say. It could conflict with how you want to say it. But we intend to continue with this because we want to have the list, as any other community in Perl, a place where you do your best work, where you have a helpful, supportive environment. So while we do screw up sometimes, I'll admit to that, I do assure you that we will remain relentless in providing this positive, supportive environment for us and for you if you ever choose to participate. So if you've heard about P5P as a place that has some rough edges around it, I can assure you that we are diligently working on not making that a reality for anyone. So that's what I want to say. Now, I want to introduce someone else. DHA, David Adler. He's one of the funniest, sweetest, and kindest person I know in the Perl community. And he's actually one of the quieter people. You might not have seen him, you might not have talked to him, maybe online. Probably you've seen him online, but not in person. So he's fairly quiet. But I can tell you that every conference that I attend, that David attends, always ends up with, I really should have spent more time with David. And I didn't. So lucky for us, I get to present David to come up to the stage and say a few words. David.
Okay, not only do I get to go on early, but I get to be embarrassed, so thank you. Hi, everyone. I am here for some reason because I'm the leader of the New York Perlmongers, the first Perlmongers group. And, well, thank you. And so just a bit of history to start. Just shy of 21 years ago was the first ever conference devoted to Perl. In San Jose, California, put on by O'Reilly. And a bunch of us were sitting around a table having lunch, and suddenly we all realized, oh, we're all from New York. Well, that's great. And this guy, Brian, had just moved to New York, and he said, oh, we should all get together when we get back to New York. And so in these more innocent days, we just handed over all our contact information to this guy who vaguely looked like John Malkovich. And so in retrospect, there were warning signs. But when we got back, Brian did get us all together, and we went to some coffee place that no longer exists. And that was the first meeting of the New York Perlmongers. Brian, of course, would go on to found Perlmongers, Inc., a corporation devoted to helping other people start user groups. And that, of course, became very successful. We wound up with Perlmongers groups on every continent in the world. We even had, we had Antarctica.pm at some point. Some scientist up at Antarctica was using Perl, and he decided, I'm Antarctica PM. And, so we started, we had meetings, and it was actually explicitly started as a social group. A little unusual in technical communities at that time. And we, basically the idea was get people away from their computers and actually see other humans in person, other programmers in our world that we could see in person. And over the years, we have kept up that mission. We quickly switched from coffee to beer, leading us to have a reputation as a drinking group with a programming problem. And, we kind of stuck to that mission. Some years in, and occasionally we would have some luminary of Perl would come into town, and we'd scramble to get a talk together because we didn't do technical talks. That wasn't all we did. But we managed to have all kinds of people in all kinds of venues, from Mark Jason Dominus at the Oxford University Press to Damien Conway in the Conway Room at the Museum of Natural History, and we even hosted Guido van Rossum once, which was, Guido himself was lovely. I have stories, but anyway, eventually a fellow named Jim Keenan, who I see in the back of the room, came to me and said, why don't you have technical meetings? I said, because that's not what we do. And he said, well, why don't you do that? Because that's not what we do. And so Jim did the smart thing and kind of routed around me and started his own technical group, Perl Seminar New York, with the wonderful portmanteau Perl Semni as our sister group, because for some reason at that point I was really married to it being a social group. And so we had concurrently running technical and social meetings. And then eventually Meetup started being a thing, and some guys started a New York Perl Meetup group. And we decided this is way too much duplication of effort. And we consolidated everything under the New York Perl Mongers banner, and so started organizing our meetings on Meetup, started doing technical meetings under the New York Perl Mongers banner. Jim at that point had been doing it, what, Jim, about 10 years at that point? And so he was a little burnt out from doing all the technical work, so we got about a 5-person committee together to take turns to do technical meetings, and we started having regular technical meetings, which was kind of strange for a while, but we got used to it. And we've had our ups and downs with what we do. It's, you know, when I was asked to give this talk, they were like, well, tell us about the state of things, where you think you're going. And at the moment, we've hit a point where in New York, it's a little harder to find rooms to give Perl talks in, because some Perl shops have turned into not Perl shops or just gone away completely. And also harder to get speakers because we've burned through all the people who want to give talks. And that's, of course, a problem. So at the moment, we're not having regular technical meetings. Every once in a while, we'll have one. But so we're mainly back to drinking at the moment. And we have, in fact, if you're going to be in New York on, is it the 27th, Jim? Wednesday. The Wednesday following the conference. If you're in New York, come on by, look at meetup.com for New York Perl Mongers, and we are having a meeting. You're all welcome to join us. Please, everyone, come. We often have emergency meetings if people are coming to town. So I think it's been a circuitous road. The social meetings are not really going to go away. Those are going to keep happening. And we'll probably have technical meetings again when we've built up some more people who want to give talks, and more companies decide, oh, right, this Perl thing actually works, so we should use that and support Perl. And that's kind of where we stand at this point, and I am just very proud to be part of the beginning of the Perl Mongers organization, as it were. It's not that organized, I suppose, but I hope many of you are members of Perl Mongers organizations, and if you aren't, and there isn't one where you are, start one. That's how these all started. People just said, oh, let's get together and do things. And different groups have different different ways of doing things. Some people insist on technical meetings. Again, we always found that strange. But it's basically, there's more than one way to do it, as we all know. So anyway, that's where we stand today, and there will be other Perlmonger leaders up here talking later about what they're doing. And anyway, I hope you have a wonderful conference, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. One of my fondest memories is we went to, we had a dancer conference, and it was in New York. And the New York PM group heard that Reba Sushi and myself are in town. I can already see Reba Sushi kind of hide behind his hand because he remembers it. So we actually went down there to have a meeting, and I think it was at Shutterstock headquarters, was it? Yeah, and it did not go as planned because they basically said, well, how about you two sit down and we'll just talk about stuff. And Reba Sushi and I will not shut up. And we had a blast, but we were told to shut up numerous times because we wouldn't. So yeah, I love New York. All right, so yeah, there is another David who's actually coming in now. Thank you. And the first, actually, when I think of David, the first thing that comes to mind is that I don't use this word a lot, but David, this David, also that one, but this one especially, he's very industrious and hardworking. David has been, I mean, he's working on code a lot. He completed a TPF grant just a while ago, amongst other things, but he's also working hard in the community, organizing multiple conferences, and kind of getting his hand in a lot of other stuff, helping a lot. Luckily, he's going to talk to us about Salt Lake City PM. What I'm wondering is, are you going to have an offshoot of this of Salt Lake City Punk PM? Salt Lake City Punk PM. No? Okay. All right. So please welcome David Oswald to talk to us about Salt Lake City PM.
Welcome, everybody. So Salt Lake City Perlmongers must have started up about 15 years ago, but I moved here from Los Angeles in 2013, yeah, and had been an active member of the LA Perlmongers and also Thousand Oaks Perlmongers when I was living down there. And when I got here, there was not a functioning Perlmongers group, and I, not knowing that there had been one at one point, I went ahead and started one up and met some wonderful people through that. Doran in the back, who does our video, and Jace in the back, I met through Perlmongers, and a number of other people. To me, the most important thing about the Perlmongers types of organizations are the way that they are able to kind of build a local community and a local initiative for Perl that benefits not just Perl as a language, but also benefits every member of the organization. We've had people, including myself, and I see another person here that have found jobs through connections they made at Perlmongers. And I'm sure that there are many people in this audience who have been in that same situation. There are employers, thus, who have been connected with good employees through Perlmongers, employees who are passionate about about their craft, essentially. And so I want to encourage other groups out there to find ways to be active, or if you happen to move to an area where there's not an active Perlmongers group, it doesn't take much to form one. Start one up, go on IRC and talk to the PM channel. They can help you get started. Start up a group and find a couple of other interested people who are willing to help out and willing to participate and present, and just do it, and look what'll happen. It really is a wonderful thing. So thank you, everybody, and I'm glad that you're here in Salt Lake.
Thanks, David. All right. I think I'm doing better. A quick shout out to Steven. Thank you. He's been like a dad to me, taking care of my throat, making sure that I'm alive. Yeah, we have a few additional people. So I don't know if you can see this well. Can anyone recognize? Because he doesn't look that way now. So, Chad, so when Chad doesn't go toe-to-toe with Conway, which he did, he likes to work on the testing framework. And I also think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you think you'll hold the title, the record for the quickest bug to fix to release, of reporting a bug and having it fixed and released right away. So we'll see. If anyone during Chad's talk finds a bug in test 2, we could see how that plays out. All right, so please welcome Chad Grenham, Exodus, to talk to us about the new testing platform framework for Perl.
Hey, so I was asked to talk about the Perl toolchain community, and I realized a lot of people here probably don't even know what that is. So I'm going to go through the 5 W's with that. So first of all, who? The Perl toolchain group, specifically for the Perl toolchain summit that I'm talking about, is made up of 5 to 10 core developers, not Perl core, but core to CPAN developers who work on things where if they break, everything breaks. Things like what I work on, Test Builder, things like Diszilla, Module Build, really things that would cause major headaches for everyone on CPAN if they failed. So initially that core group is picked, once again, 5 to 10 people, and then they pick who else gets to come to this summit, usually up to about 30 people. Sawyer's usually there. And so that's the who. The what is we work on things to make the tool chain better. Things like a lot of bugs that are on CPAN were recently fixed, or meta CPAN, pause, all these things have been revitalized and had bugs fixed at this summit. So then where? The summit is always somewhere in Europe. It's been in Berlin, it's been in the UK, most recently it was in Norway. That was a lot of fun. It's the next W. Why? Once again, because we want to fix these things and make CPAN a better place for everybody. And why do we all get together? Because it makes it a lot easier to solve a lot of these problems. Like if I have a question about plaque, I can just walk across the room and talk to Miyagawa, which I did at the last summit. And everyone in this community can do this. And so when we're all together in one room, we can really tackle problems that otherwise might take a week as emails go back and forth if they're even seen. So it is a very productive week and a lot of great people there who really achieve a lot of great things. That's the Perl Toolchain Summit group and the community around it.
Thank you. I'd like to shame Mickey for not giving the next talk. Shame. Thank you. Shaming as a service with Dave. Thank you. So, just take Div with me to places and point at people. Delegate. Yeah. So the next one is on MetaCPAN, and last year it was Mickey Nassaci's who works on MetaCPAN. There were a bunch of people working on MetaCPAN, and while Mickey was busy this year with his talk, this time we get to hear Nicolas, and I got to say a few words about him. Sorry. So first, he speaks really fast, okay, and he has a very thick French accent, which you might notice. Try to pick it up when he talks. But the thing is that as fast as he talks, that's how fast he works. I remember one of the things that Nicolas was working on, it was the new grep MetaCPAN, and it went from I have an idea to I finished, check it out. I wasn't able to get coffee. Like it was too fast. And he also helped organize a lot of stuff. I got to work with him on the core hackathons that we did, which was really nice. He also organized this with Todd. So it's really, really great to work with Nicolas and everything he does. And he's going to talk to us about MetaCPAN, which is only some of what he does. So please welcome Nicolas, Atomic. I'm not going to even try to pronounce your last name.
Yeah, neither. It's French, you will not be able to. So I will try to speak slower, much slower than usual. So you probably all heard about MetaCPAN or use it. But do you know the story behind, like many good projects, it started around a few drinks somewhere at the end of 2010. And they were working on a web app, and they quickly realized that they need one API to finish that web app. And for that purpose, then they came with the idea of building the Meta cpan, which at the beginning was mainly one API. Some Perl mongers, which mean like the community, gave some few bucks to provide the hosting environment for that first project. After a few weeks, on many weekends, more than a week, the project was alive and Meta cpan started. But the experience on Meta cpan will not be what it is today without a grand bar contribution on it. So on behalf of all the Meta cpan community, I want to thank Grand Bar for every contribution he made on how awesome the product became today. So one thing you are probably aware or not is since next Monday, the search.cpan.org traffic is going to be redirected to Meta cpan. So which means the project is now mature enough, and there was the search engine optimization also that was making search.cpan.org also great. But we use it when I start developing on Perl. Meta cpan doesn't exist, and search.cpan.org was for me the place to go, and that's what makes Perl great for me. Perl will not be what it is without cpan and all these modules. So Meta cpan now, if you have a look at their GitHub page, you will see it's about 50 different projects all working together. There's a core group, about 10 developers, more contributors, of course, but these 10 developers are working pretty hard together to make these things happen. And it's pretty easy, very smooth to set development environment on your sandbox to submit any pull request. There's a very nice guide about it. You have a background image you can contribute on. Try to do it. So Meta cpan, as I mentioned, is one API, and right now it's consumed by many other services. cpan minus, CPM, and many other that are part of the Perl community. I'm not going to mention all of them, you can get there, but that's a big family. So Meta Hack is a hackathon event organized around the Meta cpan project. Last year, in 2017, was the second event of the Meta Hack that happened in Chicago with core developers from all around the world, Europe, US mainly. And that event could not happen without the sponsors that make this possible. And I also need to mention Server Central, which hosted, which gave some space in their office to make this event happen. I probably miss one or two developers there. So I was able to join. I'm not a core Meta cpan developer, but I joined them to work on that great Meta cpan, which is kind of work in progress. Well. Anyway, so I think that's all I have on Meta cpan.
Did everyone spot the French accent? Just checking. No, right? Barely. I don't know. I was making a joke about the last name, but I don't know if you noticed that Nicolas just put R. Okay. So, okay. Will Coletta, Coke, is the current TPF grant committee head. He tends to be one of the more hidden voices in the Perl community. I'm actually very happy he's here. I never met Will in person. I'm excited, and I'm happy he's also speaking this year. And I want to invite him to the stage to talk about the TPF grants. So, please welcome Will Coletta, Coke.
So I was wondering if I kept sitting down, if you'd be able to pick me out of the crowd? No? And I think it's funny that you were talking about the unpronounceable last name and you got mine wrong. Damn. So close. It's Kalita, long E. I can do this. There we go. All right. So there were a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today. I wasn't sure what the focus of this talk was going to be, and I'm really glad that you started out by talking about community, because there's a couple of different communities, I think, that are involved here. Let's talk about the sort of work we do. Jim touched on this earlier. All the donations, you see all the companies here, all that money that comes in, two of the things that gets put back out into the community through our grants and funds. There's a difference there. The funds tend to be for more long-running projects. For example, the Perl 5 Core Maintenance Fund. Tony Cook has been doing some stellar work there. For the funds, this might be work that, as a community, as a bunch of volunteers, there's some work that isn't really very exciting that needs to get done, and part of that fund gives us a way to make sure that that gets done. The grants are more short-term. We are accepting grant proposals all the time. Every 2 months or so, the committee goes through them, reviews them, tries to figure out which of those grants are going to have the biggest impact, the best dollar to benefit ratio, what's going to impact the community. And speaking of communities, so there's we take proposals for everything. For a long time, it was considered Perl 5 only, but the past years, there's been a lot of Perl 6 grants. And actually, if you look at the recent number of grants, I think the Perl 6 grants have started to outweigh the Perl 5 grants. So if you have something that you've been working on, you think that if you think it's going to be a big impact to the community, if it's something that you need a little funding to help you carve out some time, like Jim was talking about before, please consider submitting a grant. There were some talk about websites here. One of the ones, unfortunately, which I did not hear was getting an upgrade was the news site, newspearlfoundation.org. All of you older members of the community will know what an RSS feed is. So you can subscribe to that and look at all of the proposals that are coming in. Every 2 months, we post those proposals. There's a chance for community feedback. If there's something that you really are excited about, comment on the proposal and let us know. That really helps the people on the committee to figure out what sort of impact these grants are going to have. If you're interested in donating, there's links on the main site. Hopefully all those links will still work on the new site. And you can target your donations. If you're interested, like if you really want your money to go to the Perl 5 Core Fund, absolutely. If you're more interested in Perl 6, there's a fund for that. If you're okay with it going into the general pool, that money, some of that money gets allocated every year in the budget for grants, and we are happy to allocate that back out to the teams, to the individuals. And I think one big thing, hopefully your employers will match your donations. If you make a personal donation, make sure you get set up in your company's system. Make sure you get us set up so that they will match that donation. That'll help everybody. All right, that's all I got.
All right. Oh, we have a few more people. All right, so where's Doug? So yeah, a few years ago, Doug was bored. He decided that, so Barbie was working on the CPN testers, and Barbie decided, like, I'm done. I'm good. I'm going to step down. And I think Doug had some spare time. He said, CPN testers, I can handle that. I got like a good weekend every once in a while. And it was one of the, actually, one of the more critical times. So if you've ever met Doug, he's also in Chicago PM. And he's also in the Perl Toolchain Summit group as well. And basically helps with anything that you need somehow, because he gets roped into due to his charm and politeness. So this time is actually going to talk about Chicago PM. So I want to introduce and welcome in Doug Bell, Pre-Action. You might know him from online. Please welcome him.
When did I ever do that? Hello. I actually prepared some slides so that I could...
Just advance one and then click on it.
Oh, hey, look at that. And then go to the full screen because I'm a programmer, therefore I don't know how to use computers. Hey, so I guess to be the odd person out, I prepared some slides. I'm going to talk about the Chicago Perlmongers. We are one of the older groups. I've been organizing it since about 2012-ish, since the world stubbornly refuses not to be destroyed. We're presently sponsored by Server Central, which means we get a nice office in downtown Chicago to hold all of our meetings at. We have, for the last 6 years, been able to do monthly talks. So it's a monthly technical presentation. It's attended by a few people. And my guideline for this has been at least tangentially related to Perl, which effectively turns into it has something to do with computers. So for example, some of our recent talks have included, I did a talk on TMUX techniques, how to maximize your use of TMUX. We had a talk last month about how TCP works and some of the problems that TCP solves. There was talk about smoking CPAN modules. As the maintainer of CPAN testers, I found that very interesting. And I gave a talk about a CMS for Modulicious. But in addition to our technical talks, every month we also get together and do kind of an office hours kind of thing, where just generally we get a bunch of people together and some people bring questions, other people bring answers, and we connect those people. Nobody has yet taken me up on my offer to actually teach them Perl from scratch, so hopefully someday they will. This has actually kind of morphed into sort of an office hours project night, where a couple of the Chicago Perlmongers, we all get together and we work on a project together. Seeing as I'm the maintainer of CPAN testers, what this ended up being is a tester web application, which Ray Manarelli and Bill Lindley are very close to releasing this, so I don't want to steal their thunder by getting too much into detail, but I'm really excited. I've been mentoring them for a couple years now, and hopefully they'll be able to release this relatively soon. So that's what we've been doing in Chicago Perlmongers. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So yeah, LAPM. It's a really nice group. Andrew, who's about to talk to us about LAPM, is actually he's by far one of the most energetic people I know. I can tell you that the first time I met Andrew was 3 years ago. It was right here, and he led a wave across everyone, just running to get everyone to do the wave. And I was thinking, who the hell is this magnificent person? So that was him. He's also the reason behind my outfit last year. That was also Spaz. He was thinking, this looks cool, would you wear it? I thought he was kidding. I won't make that joke. I won't make that mistake again. Andrew, I'm also not going to, I already screwed up one last name, so you're gonna have to say it. Spaz, please come in and talk about LAPM and invite everyone over. Come on up. You can do the wave after.
All right. I have no idea if my slides made it. I assume they didn't. Oh my goodness, they kind of made it? All right. Because I forgot the JavaScript. All right. But they were mostly notes for me anyway, so it works out. So hello, everybody. Who's awake? Who's doing this? All right. Woo. It's all an act, by the way. I'm actually have crushing social anxiety. But I do this as service for you guys, which is sort of the message behind LAPM is you can do this. I can do this, you can do this. Yeah, and I had a whole thing. I grew up with this is how I give to the community, and we all have to find our ways, because community without us doing stuff is nothing. So Los Angeles Perl, listening to those presentations, I realized all the memos we did not get. So we started as a technical, monthly, 2 presentations per ridiculousness. I was like, oh, I'm going to start like that until, you know, we run out of talks. And it took a few years to run out of talks. I was in New York with the New York Perlmongers and was too intimidated to go. Never went. And I went, when I moved out to California, ValueClick was hosting Thousand Oaks, and I made it a couple times, and Aaron did a great job running that. And when I switched jobs down to the Rubicon Project, I asked him, so, you know, how hard is this gig? And he's like, yeah, it's totally good. The biggest problem is, you know, you have to be prepared to present when nobody else shows up. I was like, how much would that be? And it would be good practice for me. So I restarted the LA Perlmongers 9 years ago yesterday. So, which is a long run. I tried about 2 years ago to try and, I did a little experiment to see if I stopped doing it, if someone else would step up. I think I need to be more explicit on that because that did not work. Did not work at all. We are still going. We are lapm.org. Woo! And we were one of the last users of WebDAV to push to the posted PM. If you go, you can see a snapshot of our website from a year ago. And we're now on Meetup as of this last spring, so that's been kind of exciting. We got a new person, so very nice. So yeah, restarted this in 2009. Since then, we've had 62 meetings and 114 presentations, where at least 26 of them were me. So I apologize to most of you for those. Possibly the 10 other that are labeled as you, which generally meant me. We've had 38 total presenters, many of them who are not local, who were swinging through town and had to present because I asked them. And we've had 10 different host-sponsor locations, getting more and more official as we got better at asking. When I started the Rubicon Project, we sort of just snuck in at night, and well, they already had free beers, so it kind of worked out. And this really helped me during my 5 years in the wilderness when I was at Python shops, for 2 reasons. One, it sort of kept me connected. I would still read a module and have to do a presentation, and found that you can force them to host your meetings as well. So I had Open42 and Demand Media both sort of got suckered into hosting, and then they actually had marketing people, so we've got pizzas and beers, and that's a regular feature of our events now. So come for a beverage, some pizza. Our website is driven by one handcrafted artisanal YAML file, and it's how I went and got these numbers. Although when I started pulling them out at midnight, I found out some of the old records were not in there, and so of course I had to bring it all up to date so that I could run my tools. We were one of the first ones to have restarted. We're like second, third Perlmongers, but I don't know anything about the mists of time. It was just kind of dead. It took 2 or 3 years to get the handle of the email address handed over before they thought I was real, and 4 or 5 for some of the other things. But we have a lot of fun. We've got our top presenters. A couple I want to shout out to. Aaron, who was running TO, and then when he came down and was like, phew, I'm done, I gave that away, and then I made him present down in Los Angeles. Randall has, not surprisingly, been prolific. And Tommy, who has been here from the beginning, and sadly is not here today. He's often my Yapsy roommate, which has been super fun. So yes, I'd like to just have an official thank you to the 10 different companies so far that have hosted us. So thank you, Demand Media. Still uses Perl, Language Weaver does not. Media Temple still does. Open42 was bought by Demand. Oversee May, they still want to host. Rent.com. Scale, I don't do the stuff for scale, which is wonderful. That's the one part I don't touch. And we run a booth every year, and it's a lot of fun. The Rubicon Project, Ticketmaster Live Nation, and our current host, ZipRecruiter. There are a couple zippers in the audience. If you could raise your hands and say hello. There you go. I'm contractually obligated to mention that we're hiring, and you should talk to us. Just for my last little bit, I would like to specifically thank our presenters in alphabetical by first name order because I go first. Andrew Greygard, Aaron Deltak, Ben Tilley, Brian DeFoy, Buddy Burden, Casey Vega, Chuck Harden, David Davis, Santos, David Farrell, David Oswald, the David Collection, David Williams, Fru Schmidt, Gabe Costello, Graham Tamarsh, Guy Shaw, Jacob Plotkin, James E. Keenan, Jeffrey Thalhammer, John Beppu, Josh Barat, Kavank Yazan, Mark Hedges, Mark Jason Dominus, Matt Burns, Maxwell Cabral, Michael Olson, Mike Frugger, Manshao Lau, Nate Jones, Ralph Pieper, Randall Schwartz, Rick, API Chair UK. Because that's how it is. It's API Chair UK. It's right there. I've talked to him. That's how it's pronounced. Robert Spear, Sammy Kemkar, who was actually one of the founders of LAPM and came back and gave some more talks, and he's my hero. Stephen Lembark, Thron Stanford, Tommy Stanton, Tony Gasparovic, Troy Will, and you. There you go. So Patches, welcome. If you're coming through LA, let us know. We'll move, plan a meeting for you. We will probably make you talk. As you can tell from the tone of our presentation here, this is what we aim for. It's a sociable, technical meeting. When I'm talking, at least, that's one fewer heckler, so that is good. But we try to be welcoming to well-established presenters and first-timers. And you guys are in luck. We ran through a bunch of the YAPC talks that are going to be here the last 3 months. And they've gone from great to phenomenal. So you should go watch those. So thank you very much.
So yeah, I don't know how many people here actually worked on a ProMonger, like organizing a ProMonger group. And one of the things used to be to get the web dev account, so you could have the group itself, and it included the web hosting, and included like a bunch of stuff. And this was all handled by Robert, and he deserves a lot of things for it. Yes. But that's not why I mentioned this. I have a short anecdote. I'm sorry. So I remember when in Amsterdam, there's Amsterdam X, there's Amsterdam PM, which is the Amsterdam ProMongers group, which doesn't mean in Amsterdam exactly. And then I started one called Amsterdam X, and the idea was to have it like optimized for expats, so like it's English instead of Dutch, it's early instead of later, you know, different stuff. It doesn't really matter nowadays. But when it started, I remember Robert rejecting it, basically saying, you cannot start a group named after you. So, so yeah. Okay, so we have only 17 more speakers. It's fine, everyone's alive, okay. So actually our last one. So Todd Ronaldo, he's one of the co-organizers helping with this. He's the one organizing this one, and he's in P5P. He worked on the GrubMeta CPAN. He does like a bunch of stuff. And he also works on Houston PM. I don't know if you noticed this theme where you're a person that just likes to do stuff, and then you kind of get roped into organizing a ProMongers meeting or group. So it's a lot of fun. I want to invite Todd to come and talk about Houston PM. Close us off. Where is Todd? There it is. All right. Hey.
So we specifically picked this slide because I was speaking with somebody yesterday about the YAPC that was held in Houston way back when, and I was informed that Houston was a swamp. It was 120% humidity at all times. Yeah, so I think this is for you, right? It's already been covered, but ProMongers was started by Brian Foy. The excuse he gave me when I talked to him about this one time was that it was his excuse to find a group to go drinking with in whatever city he happened to visit. Really? Okay. So so it was just, well, that's what he told me.
Everyone else probably drinks.
Yeah. It's true. Our group got started by Wade Johnson, and this is the only picture of Wade on the internet, but it's actually a decent likeness of him. The mailing list, if you go back and look, started in like 2002, but in truth, it really didn't start till 2005 when Wade came along and said, "Hey, anybody here?" And Wade started monthly meetings back in 2005, and we've pretty much had a monthly meeting every month since 2005. Probably we average 11 meetings a year. And we very early on ran out of very Perl-specific topics, or some months we wouldn't have anything to say. And so we decided to make it a lot more generic and just say, well, basically we'll meet about anything any Perl programmer might be interested in. It's really just a chance for us to sit and talk about things that we're all interested in. Unfortunately, because of the layout of Houston, the social option isn't always the best thing to bring people all into one location. So we meet and we call it a technical meeting, but sometimes the technical meeting is 30 minutes, and then we spend an hour and a half just talking about random topics. So I actually got started, I think it was 2006, and it wasn't Wade, it was actually Jeremy had volunteered to do YAPC in Houston, and Wade started chipping in, and we actually did some YAPC planning meetings at our Perlmongers monthly meeting. Wade actually adopted Device USB to do a project that we were working on, and so we actually sat in a room and did peer coding on a Device USB. We've had talks about DBI, Catalyst, Moose, DBIX class. We've had meetings where we say, come bring your Perl issue and we'll help you whatever the problem is. We had our CEO, Nick Costin, come and tell us about Devel MYT Prof. That is his obsession, is optimizing all things Perl. Wade turns out to be a active developer for SVG, so he has given us multiple presentations actually on SVG, talking about the SVG community and more about that. We've had J.D. Lightsey, who got involved in Bitcoin and came and told us more about the Bitcoin world. We had an intro to Erlang, but I'm really trying to block this out. He basically threw us in the deep end and didn't give us a lot of explanation of how the language worked and said, okay, here's a problem, go solve it. And it definitely was a difficult meeting. Ruth was a former developer on Koha. She may actually still be an active developer, which is a library application, open source. So she came and told us about how Koha works. We've had BioPerl talks, and sometimes we just talk about general Perl. We've also tried lightning talks at our meetings, without the gong, of course, where people just come and talk and have their, maybe they don't have a hour-long talk on a topic, but they can come and tell you about something they're interested in for 5 minutes. And that's gone really well to for the same reason that we do it at Perl Conference to get first-time speakers involved. That's actually gotten some future talks out of it too. So we also do a social meeting once or twice a year, except it doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like this. It looks a lot more like that. But it's a chance for like-minded people to come and get together and just talk about geek topics that interest them. So where do we meet? And this is Houston proper. That's the 610 loop going around Houston. And that's probably, I'm bad with distance, but let's say it's about 20 miles from top to bottom there. The problem is nobody actually lives there. Everybody lives here. And so the problem that we have is Houston actually, some people work from 6 to 2, and then others will work from 10 to 6. And so the problem is some people have already gone home when we have our Perl Mongers meetings, and others are in some cases still working. So that's been a challenge for us in getting attendance is finding a time that works right for everybody. When people get home and they get settled in, sometimes they don't want to go drive another 2 hours across town to go to the Perl Mongers meeting. We experimented with a group that really didn't take off. Actually, Toronto PM did a better job with it than we did, which is called Hangouts PM, and the idea was to use Google Hangouts to just present whatever your meeting was. The list is actually still active, but it's almost all Toronto Perl Mongers that posts on it. And I wanted to give a shout out to the people that have helped us over the years by providing meeting space. Actively right now we meet at cPanel 1 month and HostGator the next month. In the past we met at JP Morgan and HAL PC. That's all I've got. Thank you very much.
I'm going to let you finish, but Sterling, I see you back there, has also presented at LAPM and would like me to fix that. So thank you, Sterling. You're important to me. I don't know why you're not in the official record. It's as if you didn't do it, but you said that you did, so it must be true. And now, in honor of Sawyer X, who is basically our favorite pumpkin right now, we're going to do the wave. So if you guys could get ready, here we go.
Whoa! Ah, my voice is gone. That's it. Thank you. That was nice. That was nice. All right. Okay. So I hope you enjoy this update and about all the communities. This is difficult. This language. So like I said at the beginning, I just want you to remember this. This conference is not about the language as much as it is about everyone here. It's about us. And just keep that in mind. I hope you enjoy this conference and, have a good rest of the day. And it's starting now. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dan Wright. I do several things for TPF, including treasurer and co-lead organizer for this conference. And so I have a bunch of different roles and jobs that I do, but a big part of that is thanking people for things. And everybody pay attention because I'm about to thank you with alcohol. So, first of all, I want to call out everybody that has one of these little light blue ribbons on their name tag. These are the first time attendee ribbons. Yes. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate having new people come into our community. That's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps us fresh. And we really want to meet you. And so tonight, as soon as the talks are done out here in the foyer area, we are going to have a welcome mixer, which is for everybody, but it's especially to welcome our new members and give you all a chance to get to know each other. So tonight, as soon as the talks are done, there's going to be a welcome mixer. we are going to have some special drinks. So I encourage you to try them. One of them we are naming Obfuscation. The second one will be named Vim versus Emacs. And the third one, which I'm very much looking forward to, will be the Larry Wallbanger. Now, it will be a cash bar. However, you all get free drink tickets. So you need to stop by the registration desk sometime today, and each of you can check with Autumn and get 3 free drink tickets that are good for tonight and also for tomorrow evening's activities as well. So check those out, get your tickets, and come to the mixer tonight. We're looking forward to seeing you. And with that, we are on break until our keynote at 11 a.m. Go enjoy some snacks.